Today's the day I'm going to die. I have until at most midnight to live, because today's my 40th birthday. Now, I know that sounds strange, but I've done the research, and the curse is real. Yes, I said curse. In 1782, my sixth great-grandfather, Colonel William Crawford, was sent by George Washington to lead an attack on the British at Fort Detroit. But his regiment was intercepted by a tribe of hostile Lenape warriors who mistook them for a militia which earlier that year had slaughtered hundreds of their women and children. The tribe's chief exacted his revenge by burning Colonel Crawford at the stake, but not before cursing his descendants that each firstborn male was never to witness a fourth decade of life. Hence, my predicament. Well, actually, it's not my predicament, it's Will Crawford's predicament. And he's the main character of my next film, Last Day. My name's Doug, and I'm a Dearth, not a Crawford, so I'm happy to report that I myself will live to see another day, I hope. But as far as Will Crawford's concerned, he might not be so lucky. You see, ever since that fateful day back in the Indian village, every firstborn male in his family did actually die on precisely their 40th birthday. So what's Will to do? Accept his fate, crawl back into bed, wait for it to happen? Considering the circumstances, that's not a bad choice. But it certainly doesn't make for a compelling or fulfilling story. So, as luck would have it, there's a gas leak in his apartment, and he's forced to evacuate to a small diner across the street, where he meets Allison, a beautiful, intriguing woman who convinces him to change his plans and to spend the day with her. Thus begins a new story of Will Crawford's Last Day. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, our stories, and how we can write new ones when we don't like the one that's being written. Our entire life, from as far back as we can remember, we're told stories about ourselves. Some of them true, but far too many of them not so true. And yet we hear them over and over again so many times that we actually start believing them to be true. Mine sounded something like this. I'm from a poor family, so I'm destined to be poor. I didn't go to the right school. I don't know how to dance, although my wife will argue that that one's actually true. And the big one, I don't deserve to be this happy or this successful. And then I would say these things to myself so much that I actually manifested them into becoming my story. And then I would say, you see, they're right. This is who I am. There's nothing I can do about it. This is exactly what Will's fourth great-grandfather thought on his 40th birthday, as he sat at the supper table with his wife and daughter, eating his final meal, 4 pounds of thick-cut, hickory-smoked, well-done, extra crispy bacon, which, as you can imagine, was followed by a rather hasty trip to the family's outhouse, where he was then mauled to death by a giant grizzly who liked the taste of bacon as much as he did. So you see, the curse is real. But Allison offers Will a different perspective. Is the curse real, or is it everyone's belief in the curse that makes it real? Did Will's ancestors put so much faith in this story that they actually made the very decisions and took the very actions that caused it to become true? Like walking in the woods in the middle of the night, bathed in the aroma of freshly cooked bacon. How many times have we done that? Not the walking in the woods bacon part, but how many times have we forgotten how amazing and unique and powerful we are and let someone or something define us and write our story for us? And then we wake up one day and we look at our life stories, and they don't look anything like the ones we set out to write. Then what do we do? Well, if we're asking that question, the good news is we've already taken the first step in changing them, awareness. Becoming aware of our habitual thinking and all of the unwanted stories that play on auto-repeat every day in our lives. If we're constantly saying or thinking, I'm tired of struggling, what are we telling the world around us? A story of constant struggle. So this is where we got to be aware and remember something very important. Every single moment, right this minute, we're writing our autobiography, whether we like it or not. And we've hired the universe to do the illustrations for us. And the universe is going to draw exactly what we ask it to draw in order to tell that story. So when we become aware of these stories that we no longer want illustrated in our life anymore, the next step is crucial. Stop telling them. Stop telling them to yourself, to your friends and family, to everyone or anyone who will listen. And please, I beg you today, stop telling them on Facebook. I don't care if it got 27 likes last week. Just stop telling it. And then ask yourself this one simple question. Am I going to let the world around me tell my story, or am I going to tell my story to the world around me? And when we've answered that question, we can move on to the third step in changing our life story. Write the next chapter the way we want to write it. Now, this is when the old story is going to fight back. And it's going to say things like, I know, Doug, this all sounds great. It all sounds wonderful. But you have struggled. Your life is hard. Heart disease does run in your family. You can't just deny these things. It's part of who you are. This is exactly the kind of things that were running through Will Crawford's head when the curse tried to kill him for a fourth time in one day. And he's forced to take cover in an old, creepy mausoleum where he drops to his knees and he begs to the heavens for some kind of sign, some way to beat the curse. This is when an old, ominous caretaker emerges from the shadows, and he approaches Will, and he shares a story with Will that an old Indian chief once told his grandson. There's always a fight within us, two wolves battling for our soul. One wolf is dark and evil, full of anger, fear, jealousy, pride. The other wolf is light and loving, full of kindness, hope, strength, peace. The little boy asks his grandfather, which wolf wins? And the wise chief replies, the one you feed the most. Those old stories, the ones we're not going to talk about anymore, they did nothing more than feed our fear of being different, broken, or not enough. Those aren't the stories we're here to tell. We're here to express life, this amazing opportunity called life, and to express it in only the way that we can, in everything we do. Our own unique, amazing, beautiful, crazy story. That's what we need to be feeding. So today, let's be reminded by Will's story to be aware of the negative thinking, the unwanted stories, the curses that no longer serve us. Let's quit telling them and feeding them, and let's start writing the next chapter of our life story the way we want to write it. The amazing, awesome, impactful adventure that we're here to live.